Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And that was a fantastic introduction. Thank you so much. We fully agree. You would expect us to agree, but actually, Kartik and I are both making this home, Edinburgh, home from being from elsewhere, and that's because it's an amazing place. It really is a wonderful place, Edinburgh, to study, to live, to work. So whatever you're interested in, to spend a little bit of time with us or a long time with us, this is an incredible place, and we look forward to telling you over the course of the next hour, less than that, to make sure that we get some Q&A in, but telling you about the school and about this difference between an MSc and an MBA program. You may already know a little bit about that difference, but we want to take you through the two different programs, the types of programs that we offer, and what it is that they do differently, because they're mutually beneficial and not exclusionary to one another. In other words, you can absolutely do an MBA and then eventually do an MSc later. You can do an MSc first and do an MBA later, or do only one or the other, and you'll benefit from all of that. But the programs, I noticed that the title was MSc versus MBA, and we don't want to use that versus, because it's not a competition between the two. One of the two programs will be right for you, and that's what we're going to take you through here and talk a little bit. So thank you all for joining us. We're going to talk to you about the MBA program and the MSc program. My name is Kopil Yanez. I'm the MBA relationship manager, so I work exclusively on the MBA side of things. My colleague Kartik Chawla works on the MSc side, so we'll both have expertise in different areas and be able to answer your questions and help you out with those. So you'll hear from both of us over the course of the next little bit here. So COVID-19 is probably on everyone's mind, so we put this right up front to talk about it. Last year, when we were doing this slide for different presentations, it wasn't a very positive slide. It was really more about sort of making sure that everyone was safe and encouraging people to get their vaccines and that sort of thing. Thankfully, this time around, we have a lot of positivity and positive news to tell you about. So in Edinburgh, in Scotland, Scotland and England handle their health services slightly differently. So powers are devolved to Scotland, which means that when you hear that England has done something like remove all restrictions or no more mask mandates or that sort of thing, that doesn't necessarily apply to Scotland. Scotland has its own government and will make some of those choices for us. So, but restrictions are easing across the board. So you have businesses open, pubs and restaurants, and going to theater and cinema and all of the great things that you'd like to do in the city. All of that is open. Businesses are open. Masks are being requested on public transportation and at some large events. So there are still some efforts to mitigate further spread, but you are getting back to, sort of normal, the new normal, as everyone's been saying. At the university, we're offering in-person teaching for the MSc programs and hybrid teaching for the MBA. We'll talk a little bit about why that is and what the differences are between those programs and why you would do one or the other. But in both cases, you have face-to-face teaching. In both cases, we're expecting all of our students to be here in Edinburgh with us so that they can get the full experience. And of course, there's periodic reviews. So there are committees now that are organized to keep an eye on restrictions from the government, new rules that may be coming up. When the Omicron and Delta variants were coming through, we were being very careful about not easing too quickly or not removing restrictions. So in some ways, the university is even more careful than the broader population, because we have so many of you coming from abroad, from so many different countries. It's a very international area. But the news is positive. We're headed in the right direction. Businesses are open. You can get the full experience, and we do have in-person teaching. So why the University of Edinburgh? Hopefully you know a little bit about us, but if you don't, it's a very special place. It's one of the oldest universities in the world. It's been around for about 400, almost 500 years, really, developing people in terms of their education, in terms of their leadership. The city itself has an incredible amount of history, buildings nearby that date from the 1100s, and then of course ruins and structures that date from the Roman era here. So there's a lot of history in the city itself, but also a very modern view in terms of what we are known for. So it's a city of finance, a city of government, a city of culture. So this is the capital of Scotland. The government here has a lot of issues that it's dealing with, and you get a chance to explore that here as well. The university itself is ranked 20th globally. So we're very, very pleased by those rankings, and we believe that it represents the quality of the education that you will get here. In terms of nationalities, 80 different nationalities. In the business school alone, the vast majority of students are here from somewhere else. So we have a lot of students from the UK, but a lot more from abroad. Entrepreneurial, it's an entrepreneurial center as well. It has the highest number of spin outs in the UK, meaning the research that's done at the university, especially in the sciences and technology, gets spun out into businesses that take off from here. So the entrepreneurial ecosystem, if you're looking to start a business, is very strong here. And the university is triple accredited. So what those acronyms mean, those are three different groups, and they all come in and, if you will, they audit the business school. They look at the different programs that we offer. They look at what the learning outcomes that we have. They continue to look at these things over the years, and they tell us what, if we need to do a little bit more of something, or if we're doing less of something that we should be doing. They let us know and keep us on track. And we get reaccredited with them on a regular basis. So it's a way of making sure that the university continues to evolve without missing out on the things that we absolutely need to do. So I'm going to pass it over to Kartik to tell you a little bit about the MBA and MSc programs. He has a little bit more to talk about on the MSc side because of the number of programs. So I'll let him take this slide. Over to you, Kartik.
Thank you, Kopal. Thank you, Nadi, for the wonderful introduction, and definitely for the wonderful introduction of the university. And I would like to add something about the business school. And we are extremely proud that we are triple accredited, and this is the honor less than 1% of the business school in the world are currently holding. Secondly, our diversity, as Kopil mentioned, that we have in a business school, we have 80 plus nationalities. And I would like to tell you that we welcome just under 700 students every year from 80 plus nationalities, and they are supported by 300 professional staff and faculties. So you can see our student staff ratio is also extremely wonderful to give you that immense support what you look in your academic journey. Right. And so what we offer 3 MBAs, one full-time MBA with international exchange, and one executive MBA. And in terms of specialized masters, we have 13 masters, and we try to cover all different portfolios which are required by a global platform for in a job market or in a knowledge sector. For example, in a management portfolio, we cover MSc Human Resource Management, MSc International Human Resource Management, MSc in Entrepreneurship and Innovation, Global Strategy and Sustainability, and MSc in Management. And as we mentioned earlier, that Edinburgh is a finance city, so we cover a lot of finance programs in our specialized masters. So we have MSc in Accounting and Finance, MSc in Finance, Technology and Policy, which is known as FinTech, and it is quite in demand these days, and Banking and Risk, MSc in Climate Change, Finance and Investment, and MSc in Finance. And towards the data analytics sides, we offer MSc in Business Analytics, and of course, towards the marketing, we have MSc Marketing and MSc Marketing and Business Analysis. What you need to do to get into these programs, what kind of background you should have, all these things I will be covering later on in this presentation. But again, I'll hand over to my colleague Kopil to take you through for the MBA program.
Kartik, very sorry to interrupt you here, but we have a question. What do you mean by International Exchange MBA? Can you please elaborate a little bit on that one?
So I can jump in
Yes.
on, yeah, I can jump in on that one if you like. So we have two variants on the MBA. One is an MBA, the other one's an MBA with Exchange. They're both 1-year programs, so you're in and you're out relatively quickly, back out into the workforce. It's a 12-month program, and both programs have both programs take place in the same amount of time, so within 1 year. Both MBAs start off exactly the same. You're in the same classroom, same material, same content. You wouldn't know if one of your colleagues was in the MBA with international exchange if you didn't ask, because you're all in the same classroom. You're part of the same group. But the difference for the international exchange program, the MBA with international exchange, is that in semester 2, when the MBA is doing electives from our catalog here in Edinburgh, you would be off doing an exchange with one of our partner institutions. So we have about 13 different partners. They send students to us on a short-term basis, and then we send students to them on a short-term basis. And that gives you the opportunity to not only have the full international experience that you do here in Edinburgh, but then to also have anywhere from a few weeks to a few months at one of the partner institutions abroad. And so that will give you a very unique perspective from two different international cities. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later, but hopefully that gives you a bit of a sense of what the difference is between those two programs. In both cases, you come back and finish your capstone, which again we'll talk about a little bit later, and finish up with the rest of your cohort together. So the big question was really around doing an MBA or an MSc. We're going to answer it partially here by describing some of the things that are different between the two different kinds of programs, but then we'll also go into the programs in just a bit more detail, not too much, but just a bit more detail, and it'll hopefully become clear by the end of the presentation which one might be a better fit for you. So which one you would be happier to do or would fit better with your goals. So the MBA is a broad-based business instruction. What I mean by that is that you're taking on a lot of content around a lot of different courses that essentially represent the different divisions within an organization. So an MBA student will not only look at finance and not only look at accounting, but they'll look at marketing, they'll look at economics, they'll look at strategic leadership, they'll look at operational change. So when you look at the coursework that you would do on an MBA, you'll find that it's varied. It's very broad and not as deep as you would go in an MSc onto a specific topic. And we'll come to that in a moment. But the MBA is a very broad-based business instruction so that you have good oversight or good understanding, really, functional literacy, if you will, on all of the divisions within an organization. The MBAs who take our program, who do MBAs around the world, are typically looking to have longer work histories, or rather they have longer work histories when they come into the program. So the students who are coming into the program have on average about 14 different years of experience, 10 years of experience for the full-time program, 14 on the executive MBA. So they're coming in with a lot longer work experience because on the MSc, it's not a requirement. And then the MBAs focus on leadership. Now you'll get leadership on the MSc programs as well, but one of the major focuses of an MBA program, a Master's in Business Administration, I saw there was a question about the actual meaning of it, but on an MBA, there is a lot of discussion around managing change, organizational management, management theory. How do you work on teams that are effective? How do you lead teams and that sort of thing? So the MBA, broad-based in terms of the study that you do. People are coming in with a lot of work history, so the discussion and the peer-to-peer learning will be a little bit different there. And then the focus on leadership means that you'll discuss management quite a bit in those programs. So if you're looking for a pivot from a role that you've been doing, from a job that you've been doing into something different, either more senior or in a different sector, you're trying to move from one place to another, and look to be managing resources, teams, projects within that new role, an MBA might be a good fit. Kartik, do you want to take the next two and talk a little bit about the MSc and the areas that it excels in?
Right. So as Kopil mentioned that for MBA, we need quite extensive work experience. And for MSc, work experience is not essential, but even if you have that, always strengthen your application, as well as gives you a industry experience when you come to the program. And so for MSc, we need specialized students for if you're looking for a specialized program. For example, if you're looking for a program in finance, so we need a good quantitative elements in your bachelor degree so that you are able to cope up in our master program. And I do have all this information later in the slides, and we can cover it in a while. Kopil, what do you think?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that. And one of the key elements, what Kartik was explaining there, is that the MSCs are focused. The reason that you need that specialization, that strong skill set for a specific thing on an MSc. So, for example, if you're going into an MSc in finance, you want to have some strong finance background. MSc in accounting, again, you want to have some of that in your background. The reason for that is because the MSc programs do zero in on one topic area. So where the MBA will look at accounting, finance, economics, market, the whole list, you'll get some electives or some content outside of a specific topic area on the MSc. But if you do an MSc in finance, the expectation is that you're coming out with a much, much deeper knowledge of finance, as opposed to coming out of an MBA where you know about a lot of things, as opposed to, really focused on one area. Now, we want to emphasize that in either of these programs, there are some things that will overlap or that you'll definitely get out of either. Both will increase your confidence. So I've seen students, Kartik has seen them as well, coming out of the programs, feeling very confident and very excited about their next challenge. So they know what they're capable of. They have new skill sets. And so they've been able to get through these programs with an increased sense of confidence. Professional autonomy, so being able to move forward in a more mission critical way, meaning you don't necessarily need to be managed the whole time or directed the whole time. You're able to take what you've learned and put it into effect effectively so that you can move into more senior roles. And you're better at strategic and critical thinking. So you'll do a lot of reports, a lot of data analysis, a lot of presentations, so that you have to think critically and be strategic about your choices so that you can make those presentations and develop that content as you're presenting it during the program. And then in both cases, in either one, you'll talk to MSc students or MBA students. They develop lifelong professional and social networks. So some of your best friends, people that you'll be able to talk to later and say, hey, I'm having a trouble at my company on this or that area. I know that this is an area for you that you did really well in. Could you help me? That happens all the time on both the MSc and the MBA cohorts. So it's a great opportunity to develop that.
Great. And can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
Just from
please.
the admissions perspective. So I've seen a couple of questions here from people who want to get in technical management. So in management at IT companies, something that requires certain STEM background. So what would you recommend in that case? If, for example, I don't have an IT experience, for example, right? I'm not a developer, but I would like to grow in that sector, in that area, in the management roles. Would you recommend me to go for master's or an MBA in that case, if I want to actually even start as a project manager in the field and then grow up in that sector? What would you recommend to those of us?
Absolutely. So the way that I usually have people think about it is to look a little bit in the future and say, okay, you can imagine the sorts of roles that you would be doing, the positions that you'd be going into. What do you imagine that role to be for the next, let's say, between 1 to 3 years? If you see yourself in a role where you're getting stuck in, you're learning about everything, you're really trying to advance your knowledge in a specific area, perhaps like you were saying, saying, Nadi, you're a project manager, you're really focused on developing your skill sets in a particular area, whether it's a technical area or just managing the technical aspects of a role, or managing the teams that are doing the technical aspects of a role. If you see yourself as part of a team, so part of a group where you're not necessarily the most senior person there, or the one who's managing the division, or who has to be concerned about the overall strategy. If you see yourself as part of a team in a specialized area, the MSc might be a better fit, because the MSc, you can still do an MSc in a specialized MSc, for example, in management, that will give you some of the managerial theory and strong managerial thinking that will help you as you develop into a manager. But if you see yourself in the next 1 to 3 years really being in one area, not necessarily being concerned with strategy overall, an MSc might be a better choice. If, on the other hand, during that same horizon, 1 to 3 years, 1 to 5 years, you see yourself as perhaps starting in a project manager role, but you really see yourself as becoming a leader within that team, or within that division, within that organization, or just anticipate that you really, that's what you want to set yourself up for, that you want to be able to come in and understand, some aspect of that business, but you want to move into a leadership position, then an MBA becomes more important, or an MBA becomes more useful, especially if you think you're going to be dealing with strategy. So, for example, if most of the roles that you're doing, or most of the jobs that you're doing, are handed to you by someone else who says, this is our plan now for the next few months or next year, or whatever you're doing, this is what we're focused on, and they and whoever they were involved with were developing the strategy, then that's more looking at an MSc role. If, on the other hand, you're the one who's developing the strategy, you're the one who's responsible for it, if it doesn't go well, you're the one that they're going to come in and talk to, then an MBA might be a better fit. So it's really about kind of the roles that you expect to go into, and the things that you expect to be doing, work backwards from there to say, okay, I see myself in this role with a very specialized area, let's say in fintech, or managing the HR division, or managing HR paperwork, or questions within a tech organization, whatever that role might be. That would be more on the MSc side. If, on the other hand, you're looking to manage the HR department, or manage a team long-term, and to advance into more of those senior management roles, and you're responsible for strategy, an MBA might be a better fit.
Thank you a lot. That's been a very detailed response, and I think it's relevant to any other program we're talking about, not only management. But if, for example, a person decides they want to not MBA, but the master's, is there technology management at the University of Edinburgh or not as a program? Or like
Kartik, you want to take that one?
Yeah. So there is no direct program which is related to technology management, but there are other perspectives to see that. So we have MSc in business analytics, which will take you towards become a data scientist, and where you deal with a lot of programming and technical stuff. You will be doing a lot of handling a lot of quantitating elements in your master's. And the another perspective, as Kopil also already mentioned, if you are from a technical background and if you do MSc management, then that will gives you understand, because you already have understanding of technology, and doing the management will give you insights how can you manage those. So these are the two perspectives you can see, but the closest one for technology management is business analytics.
And just so that, because I've seen many questions from people from the technical, non-technical backgrounds about, data science and technology management. So just not to go too far from it, can you please tell us, do you require any technical background for those programs or not, or anyone can apply? And then we can move on.
I will be coming very soon. What are the requirements for our specialized masters?
All right, then let's continue. Thank you.
Excellent. So we'll move next to, so I'm going to stay on the MBA side of things for a bit, but we'll have Kartik come back in to talk a little bit more about the MSc. and then we'll talk about some of the areas where they overlap in terms of things that you'll get out of both. How do you do an MBA? You know, that may seem like a simplistic question, but it's actually about how you get through a really, really rigorous and challenging program. At most business schools, the MBA program is the flagship program, meaning that there are a lot of resources put into that and a lot of pressure put on the students because there's a huge amount of content to consume and the expectations are that much higher in terms of the output that you're giving back in terms of reports and presentations and that sort of thing, precisely because that's what's going to be expected in your leadership roles as you go into an organization. So in order to do a program that's that challenging, you want to make sure that you have the proper support. And for us, it starts with the program itself. You'll have world-class faculty who's helping you out with that. You'll have the support of the MBA team, people like myself and my colleagues on the MBA team who develop the course and the content there. The support of your cohort, and I can't overemphasize this, it is such a critical part of the experience that you're going through with a cohort that will always be available and always be supportive of you, even long after you've been in the program. I can't count the number of weddings that I've heard people talk about going, years later to visit someone and be part of a wedding that, was a friend from the MBA program. So the key thing is that no one does an MBA alone. This applies to the MSc as well. So I don't want to imply that that doesn't happen there, but no one does these programs alone. You'll get a lot of support as you go through. So on the MBA program, we are keeping our hybrid teaching model going forward. We started it as a response to COVID-19, but the feedback that we've had over the past 2 years from the faculty, it's that the students are coming in better prepared for the content that they have to be prepared for. On the student side, that they are able to manage the volume better than they have in the past, because some of the content is available now online. So you're in the classroom every day for about 2 hours with the MBA program. And then you have a number of other contact hours that are either online, they may be projects that you're doing with your colleagues, there may be video content, pre-recorded content, live content, just depends on what the faculty member is doing. But some of that content you can now move. So rather than having to do it in the afternoon, when you normally would be in the classroom, you can now move it to the evening or move it to a weekend where it fits your schedule better. That means that students are able to participate in the university community more often than they have in the past. And it allows for a lot of that networking and communication with companies when they're actually open during the day, that will help you in your career development. Now, your question might be why we're doing that. If it's so effective and so useful, why we're doing it on the MBA versus the MSc. The volume on the MBA tends to be that much higher, tends to be that much more intense, and it can be a very overwhelming program. The MSc, of course, can be overwhelming as well, but the hybrid model allows us to keep the level of personal contact while also allowing you the opportunity to get through a huge amount of content within that year in a way that makes sense. And so the feedback that we've received on this is why we've decided to continue the hybrid teaching model for the MBA programs. On the MSc side, you are in the classroom face-to-face with full instruction on the MSc side. The MBA, we talk about our 3 pillars: strategic leadership, professional development, and a personalized approach. These are the things that underpin the program and support all of the efforts that we make and the learning outcomes. Strategic leadership, as I keep emphasizing on an MBA program, is the review of good strategic thinking and how to become a good manager. So, or if you're a good manager already, how to make you better, how to hone the skills that you bring in. So strategic leadership is very important. Professional development, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit because it's an important part of both the MBA and the MSc program. And on the MBA, we have relatively small cohorts of around 50 students. So you get that one-to-one approach from the faculty and the coaching staff and everyone that supports you. Again, a lot of that you'll find on the MSc as well, and Kartik will tell you a little bit about that. So for both the MBA and the MSc, you go through in a 1-year program. Semester 1 will be about your fundamentals, so the core coursework in your discipline. If you're on the MSc side, then it may be, if you're MSc in finance, then you're taking MSc finance type course. You're taking finance courses that look at finance from a number of different perspectives. In some cases, perhaps looking at analyzing data, in other ways, looking at how you communicate that information to other members of the team. On the MBA, you're looking at the core courses around accounting and finance, all of the basic divisions within most organizations. Semester 2 then is theory and practice. So taking what you've learned and starting to apply it. Electives will allow you to take a deeper dive into the subjects that you're most interested in. So on both the MSc and the MBA side, you get the option of looking at electives and choosing those. The international exchange is an option on the full-time program. So instead of doing electives with us here, you would be doing your electives with an international partner. We also have treks from time to time. Those are 1, 2, 3 day events where you may go, for example, to London to look at the future of business or women in business. These are topics that we've covered before, and that's an opportunity to dive into the topic in a deeper way and still have a good experience with your cohort. And then the final project, or we call it a capstone, it's called different things in different places. Not every program has it, but this is an opportunity for you to really get into a topic that you're interested in. You get to choose what that topic is, and you get to explore that for the last few months of the program. So this applies in both the MBA and the MSc. So now I'm going to hand it back over to Kartik, who's going to tell you a little bit more about the MSc programs that we offer.
And I'll just jump in very quickly. Sorry, Kartik.
Absolutely.
There.
Yeah.
Just one question about the visa point, from the visa point of view. You mentioned it's going to be hybrid, mode of studies, right? But is it going to affect the student visa in any way, or not at all? So
not at all. Not at all. So there are certain numbers of contact hours, and contact hours are looked at not just by the amount of time that you're in the classroom. It's also about the amount of time that you're meeting on a project, for example, or having one-to-one coaching sessions or one-to-one professional development sessions. So the contact hours that meet the requirement for the visa are there. This is constituted and qualified as an in-person full-time program, and it meets all of the criteria that it needs to in order for the visa to still apply. So you don't have to worry that it's classified as an online program or that you wouldn't be able to get your visa. That's all taken care of. So you still qualify for the year-long study visa.
Great, thank you. And I see some questions about the entry requirements for MBA, but I know that Kopil will cover it later in the presentation.
That's right.
Please stay with us, don't go away. And there's some good news about GMAT, so please stay with us. We're going to cover those aspects a little bit later. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So here we are, finally, all the entry requirements for our specified masters. So for finance related programs, and I'll start with our MSc Accounting and Finance. We need a background from accounting, finance, or related subject. Any other subject with significant accounting and finance study will be considered. For that, we need to assess your transcripts. And this is for every program, we will be assessing every transcript before making any decision. And if you are not having, for example, a degree particularly in that module or in that area, we will see the transcripts. You might have some modules and you must have performed really well, and we do consider that given the circumstances. For MSc Finance, again, we need a bachelor degree in finance, accounting, business, or economics. And for MSc Finance, I would like to add one more thing, that this degree covers CFA 70% level 1 accreditation. For rest of the 30%, if you are looking forward for that, we do provide study support and scholarships to get that CFA certification. And for our MSc Climate Change, Finance and Investments, we require degree in business, economics, engineering, or social or physical science. This requires some technical element as well. That's why we also accept P students who had done engineering in their undergrad. For MSc Banking and Risk, we need very strong quantitative subjects in your first degree, in your undergrad degree. For example, finance, economics, business, management. Acceptable, we need to see your transcripts to see that you have covered that modules, for example, mathematics, statistics, operational research, informatics, computer science, physics, or engineering, because this module actually works a lot on quantitative areas. And MSc in FinTech, Finance, Technology, and Policy. Again, we definitely need finance, economics, engineering, or informatics, including minimum work experience with significant statistical analytics or programming. So as you can see, in all our finance, in all our finance and accounting or technical finance related technical programs, we do need a very strong quantitative element in your undergrad degree. Right. Can we move to the next slide, Kopil? Right. And there are some programs which are like an MBA in terms of entry requirements, where we are not focusing in any specific undergraduate degree. For example, MSc in Management, MSc in Human Resource Management, MSc in International Human Resource Management, and MSc in Entrepreneurship and Innovation. The main reason is that all these programs are not industry defined or confined. You can be from any industry and you can go to any industry, because every industry have all these domains present in an organization. So we don't need any specific background for these masters. For MSc Global Strategy and Sustainability, this is relatively a very new program. We are going to start our first batch in September 2022. So we need students from business and commerce, management, finance, accounting, economics, international politics, international relations, science, engineering, or law. So we cover quite a lot of programs and gives quite a lot of flexibility to enroll in this program. And about this program, this is really in demand in terms of job prospects. A lot of large organizations are really looking for the graduates who can not only develop strategies, but also develop sustainable strategies. We have seen during the pandemic, a lot of startups have gone down, and settled industries were not able to cope up with the external event like COVID-19 or any other thing. So this program is focusing more on sustainable and developing long-term strategies. And towards, I'll move to the next one. So for MSc Marketing and MSc Marketing and Business Analysis, we are again very flexible with some backgrounds. So we do require somebody from marketing or business background. And for marketing and business analysis, we need again some evidence of quantitative study during the bachelor degree. So marketing and business analysis is very unique program. It not only gives you a flavor of marketing, but also gives you understanding of data. So you can see, you can actually work on data, how to market that data. You will be able to do the analysis and you will be able to develop the strategies or make up plans by seeing the results of that data. So it's very unique and very different program altogether. And again, of course, for our MSc Business Analytics, it's very specialized program, and we are living in a big data world. So this program will take you towards the data scientist, where you will be, and the entry requirements for this program is, again, we need quantitative elements in your first degree. We would be assessing your transcript to see that you have covered linear algebra, calculus, statistics, and computer programming, like these modules. As well as engineers are also welcome to make an application for particularly this program. And again, it's intense. All our masters are intense and relatively run for 12 months. So it's 1-year programs. And we expect you to be on campus, and this will be in person. And some of you are wondering how we will support alongside your academics in terms of your student development. So this we will definitely be covering later on in the presentation.
Thank you, Kartik. So we'll move forward on the slide deck here and talk quickly here just about the professional development side of both of these programs. So in addition to the classroom teaching that you'll experience on the topics that Kartik has covered and I've covered before, you'll also have content related to your development as a professional. Skills development workshops are a key area that we engage in here. So leading high performance teams, influencing skills, managing conflict, everything that you see here, you'll talk at some point or another, sometimes with a speaker in the classroom, sometimes through a project or an activity that you're doing, sometimes through a lecture from our professional development teams. But on both of the programs, you'll have different workshops to help you develop your soft skills, as they're called, develop your ability to influence, to communicate, to present, because it's one thing to learn all the things that you're learning, but if you can't express that or pass that along to someone, then it won't be as useful to you. We also do executive coaching, so one-to-one coaching support through the program, dedicated coaching pool. This is a person who's assigned to you for a certain number of visits, and you are visiting with them to talk about anything you like. Ultimately, it's a safe space to have a discussion about just about anything, but most people do use it as they advance their career plan and as they put together their strategy. So it may start with, I'm interested in pivoting into fintech. I'm just making something up here. But the coaching and the discussion will not be about, well, maybe you should do something else. It will be about, okay, let's talk about why you like that. What was it that made you make that decision? And what do you think you need to do to get into that role? So now you've taken this big issue, this big challenge for yourself, and you've broken it down into pieces by saying, okay, what do you need to do to get there? Well, I need to expand my network. I need to talk to alumni. I need to learn a little bit more in certain electives that would be useful for this. So it's essentially an opportunity for you to talk through in a safe environment the things that will help you release your personal potential and realize your personal potential. So one-to-one coaching is not very common on programs across the board, and so we're very proud of the coaching culture that we've developed at the business school. In terms of general career development support, again, you have the coaching that'll support you. It's one-to-one in the sense that you're coming in, you're talking either to the student development team on the MSc side, or the professional development team on the MBA side. You're doing everything from a CV review to looking at your own personal brand and deciding, what do I need to do to present myself better, or to explain to people relatively quickly what I'm about, why I think I'd be a good candidate, all of these sorts of skills that will help you as you go into interviews, and will even prepare you for that as well. So you'll have a lot of different opportunities to explore what kind of a career you want, the steps that you'll need to take them, and then getting the resources so that you can actually take those steps. And then on both of the programs, or on both of the types of programs, whether it's MBA or MSc, you'll have a number of different opportunities, not least of all in your capstone, to do a consultancy project. So if you want to do a consultancy project for your capstone where you're gathering data or working with a company, basically a company is sponsoring you in the sense that they're providing data for you. This is just a very, very simple list of some of the companies that we worked with in the past, for one of the groups that we did. But our MBA students and the MSCs will do something similar, went out to these companies, talked to them about their marketing. In this case, this was a marketing challenge that they were working on, and look at the marketing plan that the company has, and then offer improvements on how to make that better. So here are the entry requirements for the MBA. It's 3 years of work experience on the full-time program, with some managerial experience within that. So managing projects, managing teams. Maybe your title didn't even say manager or director or vice president or anything like that, but whatever your role was, if you were managing projects or you were doing activities that you were responsible for the strategy on it and for the outcome on it, that's managerial for us. It doesn't mean that someone has a direct report every time, or that they're the head of an organization. It just means that they they were doing managerial jobs as part of the 3 years that they were working. So 3 years of work experience for the full-time program, really a little bit more than that to be competitive. Our average is close to a little over 9 years. But at 3 years, you can start thinking about applying. For the Executive MBA, which is our part-time 2-year program, we haven't talked a lot about that here because it's not really suited for international students unless they're already traveling to Edinburgh on a regular basis, but 5 years of work experience with managerial responsibilities within that. An undergraduate degree or a 2-1 honors is required on the program, or the equivalent internationally. Every region will have a different equivalent. I saw something about having a 2-2 and whether or not you'd be able to do an MBA. For us, if you don't have a 2-1 honors, but you have extensive work history, you might be able to do a test that's called GMAT, or another one that's called SHL. And this is on a case-by-case basis. So you can apply for the program without having taken those tests. If the program feels, gosh, this is a very good student, good work history, we think they would be a good fit for the program, but their academics weren't as strong as maybe they thought, or perhaps in some cases you're an entrepreneur and you just never had a chance to get your undergraduate degree. You can do GMAT to act as a proxy for your academics. On the MBA, we have one professional reference. We require one professional reference and an interview. Those interviews are with me, so at least it's a friendly face when you get to that point. Kartik, do you want to cover the differences with the MSc program here?
Yes. So for MSc programs, as I mentioned earlier, that we do not require work experience as an essential. But if you have relevant work experiences, always strengthen your application, because it's very competitive. So we usually expect our students to have some work experience, but we always welcome students from directly coming from their undergrad. And yes, we require 2:1 honors competitive to as a UK degree. For particularly for Nigeria, we need 2:1 degree to be a minimum eligibility criteria to get an enrollment in, to make an application. And we, as GRE GMAT is not essential again for our MSc programs, and we do require one professional reference and interview case-to-case basis. Mostly it's not. So these are the basic entry requirements for the MSc program. But as I already given you the details, what are the specific subjects we need if you are looking for a specific master's. And one thing I would like to add in terms of your professional, personal, and career development, that from the day one, you will get a very strong opportunity to build your network. Whether are you on MSc program or on an MBA program, you will be studying with students from different parts of the world, not only in terms of culture, but they will be having different industry background, professional background. So it's a wonderful opportunity for you to explore. And for the whole 1 year, you will be developing your professional as well as personal network, not only from your academics, but your cohorts as well. And on top of that, you will be having a lot of industry opportunities like industry treks, which Kopil already mentioned. You will be doing a lot of projects with industries. So you will be doing a lot of conversation with the industry people as well. So it's a very good opportunity to come out from your home and study international, where you will be developing your network and look for a professional growth in the future.
Thanks for that, Kartik. I know there were a number of questions about scholarships. We do offer scholarships. We have a leadership scholarship in the £10,000 range. We have a few of those. There's one somewhere, MBA LGBTQ plus scholarship, also for £10,000. And then we have quite a few of the academic and achievement scholarships. These are £5,000. They're the most likely scholarship that we offer. I think I saw a question about full scholarships. Unfortunately, we don't offer any full scholarships, but these are available to you to apply. The process for us is that you apply for the MBA, you apply for the program, and then if you receive an offer, you can apply for the scholarship. So it's a separate competitive process. But the academic and achievement scholarships, those £5,000 awards, are the most typical awards that we give out. So we're happy to answer any questions that we've missed. I'm sure there's some information we didn't cover there. You can certainly connect with us after this on any of the links that are here. I know the team that at Unique Way will send you contact details for us. You're more than welcome to get in touch with us. Both Kartik and I do one-to-one consults, for candidates who are seriously considering the program. So just get in touch with us. We can do a CV review. We can talk to you about the programs and how they might fit your career goals. But let's jump into some of the questions if we could.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. I just wanted to ask you firstly about just cover some of the admissions questions. So just we're on the same page. So I've seen some questions about GPA, both for masters and MBA. So could you please elaborate on that? Let's imagine the student who has no chances. Can you tell me who has no chances, and like in certain cases, if they improve their profile and how they can improve their profile to apply? So can you, let's take the extreme case.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start on the MBA side. On the MBA, work history is very critical to us. It's so important that we can actually find other ways to meet the academic requirement beyond your grade. So in other words, like I said, if you came in without an undergraduate degree, so you went to high school and prep school and all of that, and just never had the opportunity to do your undergraduate degree, if you take GMAT and get a 600 or better, you would be able to join the program, as long as all the other requirements were met. But in the case that the example that you're giving there, so again, 2-1 honors is required for us, and every region, every country will have a different score that will meet that requirement. So for example, in India, typically a 60% or better meets our 2-1 honors degree. In the US, a 3.25 GPA will meet our 2-1 honors degree. It's different for every region because obviously every country sort of handles its marking and its grades. Some are out of 10, some are out of 5, et cetera, et cetera. So as long as you meet the academic requirement, in most cases, you're eligible for the program. On the MBA, it doesn't mean that you would necessarily automatically get a seat. It simply means that you can apply and you would meet the academic requirement, and then we'll start looking at the work history. Hopefully that answers the question. If it does, I'll hand it over to Kartik for the MSc side.
Right. Thank you, Gopal. For MSc, as I already said, that we are more focusing on academics. So we assess your profile on your academics backgrounds rather than your work experience. So we want that you should have that 2:1 honors grade in your undergrad degree to be eligible to make an application. And because work experience in MSc is not essential for make an application, but it's always strengthened. So we need that minimum academic background and academic score to be eligible for make an application. In very few cases, if you are on a borderline, and then we would ask you to provide, and then we assess your transcripts in terms of the modules you did which are relevant to the masters you are applying for. Then we'll try to marrying up them if they are matching, and if we feel that the scores you have gained in your particular modules which are relevant to the masters, then we can still consider. But as it said, it depends, but you should try to have a minimum undergrad requirement as in terms of academics we need.
Thank you. And just the last question about the application process. And please, everyone, do send us your documents. You could just start with a CV at hello@uniqueway.com. Sorry. And we will be happy to recommend you, to guide you with the next steps. If you have chances at the University of Edinburgh, or if you need to consider something else, so we will be happy to support you on that side. But about the deadlines, can you please give us some approximate timelines? What is the last date people can start applying, and what is the application fee for that? Thank you.
Sure, I'll start again with the MBA and then hand it over to Kartik. On the MBA side, the earlier you apply in the process, the better. We have about 7, I believe, rounds that have deadline dates that are about 2 months apart. The first one is in September. The last deadline is sometime in June. And then you have a decision by date. So for every deadline, if you apply by that date, you would hear the results of your application by that decision by date. But very crucially, as you go along, especially on the MBA, you start to curate the cohort a little bit more. So in other words, we want a good diverse population on the program. We want people from a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different sectors. So let's say that application rounds 1 through 5, for whatever reason, had a lot of accountants applying. Then obviously, no matter how strong your application is, as you come in later in the program in round 6 and 7, for example, and you're an accountant, you now have to fight the fact that the program already has that represented well in the program. So the earlier you apply, the better. If you can apply in the first round, which starts in September, I absolutely encourage you and recommend that you do that. So in terms of the deadlines, if you're considering applying now, the last deadline is in July. I would definitely not wait until then. I would apply as soon as you're ready, as soon as you have your application ready to go. And don't worry about, if it falls between 2 deadlines or what have you. Don't try and match to something. Just send it in as soon as you can. We do consider applications as we go. You just know that by a certain date you're going to hear the results. So that's on the MBA side.
Right. And for MSc, it's like the same thing, sooner the better. And we do run 5 rounds typically in a year, starting from October and ends in June. So if you are looking for current year enrollment for September 2022, you can still make an application. We are currently in round 4, and the deadline for this particular round is April 20th. And the next round, 5th deadline is June 8th. So you still have chance. And for 2023, if you're looking for 2023 intake, then you should start somewhere in September. As Kopil said, it's always sooner the better. And in terms of application fees, most of our programs application fee is £60, and particularly for global strategy and sustainability, this year we are not charging any application fee, but this might change next year. I mean, we are unsure on that. But yes, we do have application fees on most of our MSC's program, which is £60. And for MBA, we do not have any application fees.
Great, thank you. And I do remind you, everyone, please do send us at least your CVs at hello@uniqueway.com, and we'll be happy to assist you and start the application process. And like our wonderful speakers have just mentioned, do not delay, start as soon as possible. That process takes some time. It seems like it's easy, but it's not, trust me. One more question about the admissions process is more or less clear. Again, if you have more questions, please feel free to contact us, and the speakers will be happy to elaborate on some details. One question that I would really like to answer is the difference between the program in entrepreneurship and MBA. So what would you recommend, especially for business owners, for example? Could you just talk a little bit about it, and then we will move to the visa and professional opportunities.
Yeah, Kartik, do you want to start on that one?
Yeah, I'll start with the basics one, and then you can take it to the next. So first, it depends upon the experience. As I said, that for E&I, we do not require any work experience. You can straight coming out of your undergrad. And if you have any business plan, if you are looking for your startup, and if you are already having a family business and you want to quickly learn few things and again go back to the business, you're definitely look for entrepreneurship and innovation. However, for MBA, if you're having a significant work experience and if you are planning to start a business or joining a company on a C-suite level, the MBA is the right program for you, and Kopil can definitely take more things on that.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. The key difference is really how much of the work have you actually done, or how much work have you done before you start your pivot. So, for example, if you've been working in a corporate environment or some other job, an organization, charity, whatever it is, and you're thinking about starting your own business, but you have a good long work history or a decent amount of work history in that role, then I would say an MBA might be a better fit because you'll be covering some entrepreneurial thought, but then you'll also be covering a lot of the things that you'll need in order to be able to run that business. And because you already know some of what you need, the MBA is a bigger accelerator because of that work history to get you to where you're going if you're starting a business later. But that's the E&I program on the MSc side is actually a perfect example of the specialized masters, the benefit of getting a lot of really deep information about one topic, so you'll really be deeply immersed in entrepreneurial thinking and how to develop a new venture and that sort of thing. So if you're early in your career, that can be the best accelerator for you to get you to that next step, and then you can do an MBA later if that fits your career goals.
Thank you. I think that you answered the questions very well. Thank you, Kartik and Kapil. That's been very good. So then let's move to the professional opportunities, because everyone who's going for an MBA or master's are looking to work afterwards, right? That's the final goal, I guess, for most of us, unless we can just be philosophers and do nothing. But in general, what do you think about the work opportunities for international students in the UK? A lot of people will come back home and will work in the international environments or back home. But for those who want to stay in the United Kingdom upon graduation, what are the options? So we know that students can apply for a 2-year post-study work visa to look for a job. And when studying, they can also bring their partners who could potentially work full-time while the student is studying, of course, as per the decision of the UK office, but still, there is an opportunity, there are options like that. So even speaking of those coaches you've mentioned, like, can the partners of the students also get that opportunity of some additional professional support when looking for a job in the new country? Like, how is the process there? So can you please just talk a little bit more about the job market and the opportunities for the students, and if there are any for their partners as well? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start and hand it over to Kartik. And a lot of these views are not the university views because this is us looking at all the same information that all of you have, making our assessments. These are maybe hopefully a little bit better than chance in terms of assessments, but just to be clear, these are my opinions. Brexit certainly made things a little bit more difficult for students, and in some ways, the 2-year visa additionally made things complicated while also helping. I'll explain what that means. But before Brexit, you had the opportunity to come to the UK, you could study here, and then when you were looking for work, you had ease of transfer across borders. You could go and look for work in Europe and have essentially the same ability to kind of explore the opportunities there as well. Now you don't have that, the ease of travel. Obviously, you have to get a visa now. You have to go to a specific country and follow the rules there for how you would do it. So what that's the knock-on effect that has had, along with some industries either holding back in terms of hiring or not expanding as much because they're still waiting to figure out how Brexit will affect them. Brexit has resulted in more competition for jobs in the UK. So the economy seems to be doing well. The job market seems to be robust, but it does mean that there's more competition with more people who are forced now to look in the UK only, who would otherwise have maybe looked in Europe. On top of that, now we add the 2-year visa. So the 2-year graduate route visa gives you the opportunity to study in, work in the UK without having to go to a company that is a sponsor and have them sponsor you. So that used to limit the number of companies that you could go to. But what that's done is it has attracted a lot more students. So there are a lot more people who want to come to the UK on a study plan to, to do a postgraduate program, so that they are then eligible for that 2-year visa and they can start working with the company in the UK. So what has that done? That has increased again the competition in the UK. We say these things, or I talk about these things, because we always want to be honest about the environment and the challenge of it. But I also say what's next in the same spirit, meaning that it's genuine and true to the best of my knowledge. And that is, yes, it's difficult, but it is possible. You can absolutely make that pivot. You can work in the UK after having worked internationally your entire career. It requires a huge amount of effort on your part. It cannot be a passive process. It cannot be the expectation that you'll drop off a CV someplace and they'll come in and they'll talk to you or they'll call you. It has to be networking, doing informational interviews, going out and meeting with companies, talking to people, wherever they congregate, if that's in LinkedIn or Weibo or any of the other different, sites where companies will talk about their business, talk about what they do, and executives will talk about their work. You need to congregate in those same places. You need to figure out. That all requires research. It requires a lot of effort, and it requires using the resources that you have in the form of your coaches, in the form of the professional and student development offices. Go in, talk to them, tell them what you're interested in doing, and you'll be able to eventually connect with that network. So just the summary, it is hard. There's no question about it. It is challenging, but we can point to success stories in each cohort in each year, and we're very happy that we can do that. So if you want to make it happen, you can. It requires a huge amount of effort, and you need to drive that. Over to
And
Kartik.
we do, you have covered almost everything in that aspect, and we do provide a lot of backend support in towards looking for your, narrow down your job search, job hunting strategies, improving your CVs, your profiles. So we do give a lot of support, and it's definitely up to the student how much hard work they are putting in towards their goal. So it is very essential. The best thing you can do is you can rely on yourself. You need to be sure what you are looking for, and then we are here for you to provide all the support you are looking for.
One final point, if I could add to that, is that a lot of the work that you need to do, you don't have to wait to join the program or to start the program. Start any program.
Yeah.
If you end up going to a different MBA program, whatever's the right fit for you, that's where you should be. But you can start well before you arrive, and in fact, you should. So, what are the things that you can do before you arrive? You can start looking at the business climate wherever you're going, or the sector that you're interested in. Start reading about it, finding out who the players are, who the companies are, who's headquartered there, who only has a hub, who isn't there at all. Start doing that research so that when you arrive, you have a hit list of companies that you already know you want to connect with, you want to find out about. If there's alumni who work there, you want to talk to them. You want to do a lot of that legwork in advance so that when you get here, you can reach out to those companies. You can even do that before. I mean, you can reach out once you have an offer. You can reach out to a company, and it's the best time to do it because they know that for at least a year, you're not asking for anything other than either their time or their information. You can say to them, I'm moving to Edinburgh. I'm so excited to start my program in finance or my MBA. I'd like to have a quick Zoom chat with you if I could, because I saw what you wrote on LinkedIn, or, I saw your article in the FT or whatever. This is homework that you can do before you arrive, and it's free, and you don't have to do anything other than find out about these companies, do some of that work, and it will definitely help you when you arrive.
And it always gives a good impression on the company side as well, that candidate is interesting and liking our work, what we are doing. And definitely you need to align your values, what company values are, so that these things always helps you in growing your network as well as getting that prospective job you're looking for.
Great advice. Thank you a lot. I'm very glad that you talked about it because, yes, a lot depends on us. A lot depends on our homework and how well we do our research. Just applying for good school doesn't mean that, your life is settled. You're good to go.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
A lot of
Absolutely.
additional work should be done. I totally agree with you. Thank you. And I do see and understand that the university is providing all the support a student might need on their journey, but the action should be coming from you guys. So you are the ones who will be building, if you are planning to stay in the UK afterwards, who will be trying to build that path in the new country. Um, the last question, and then I think with the rest of the questions we have not answered, we will just contact all of you guys in any way. So please do wait for emails from us starting Monday. And if you want to book a consultation, please do go ahead. One of my colleagues or I myself will be talking to you, will supporting you on your application journey. And of course, you can also contact Kopil and Kartik directly. There is not a problem at all. We've seen their contact details. So please go ahead with that too. But I would not recommend you to bother them if you're just wondering about, very vague things. If you are very certain about, to start the application process, I would go to them. But if you're just thinking about it, then probably we will be better people to talk to you.
Just to reinforce that, I mean, the team at
Yeah.
Unique Way knows these programs. They're asking us about the programs. They're familiar with. It's a fantastic way to kick off and learn a little bit more about the program when you're just trying to find out, which program's the right one for you, or where would I be a good fit, etc. And then of course our website. Everything that we've talked about here for the most part appears in one way or another on our website. So if you look through that, you'll have a lot of your questions answered. And then at that point, you've talked to Nadia and the team. You've looked at our website. You're really serious about moving forward. That's where we can really be of help. But take advantage of the resources
Yeah.
that are already available to you.
Absolutely. So thank you. The last question, and then we can go. I'm very sorry for keeping you for so long. The last one for the Friday night. Can you please tell us about the payment method? So in what installments we can pay? So what are the approximate timelines, so that just to budget, to understand how the tuition fees payments work?
Yeah,
For,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Kartik.
for MSc, as I already mentioned, that the application fees is £60, and once you have an offer, you will be given a 28 days of time to confirm your admission. So you can do it by depositing £1,500, and if you do that, your admission is confirmed, your place is confirmed, and when you arrive, you can start paying your tuition fees. So I mean, it's up to the candidate. You can pay upfront everything, or you can pay into 3 equal installments as well. And for Kopil, you can add.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the MBA program, very similar. You pay a deposit, and just to be clear, that £1,500 deposit comes right off of your fees. It's not an additional cost or anything.
Yeah.
It's part of your fees. So once you start the program in September, it's usually about a month after you matriculate, meaning that you register that you've arrived and that you've started your program. You'll receive your first invoice. Now, if you haven't made arrangements with the university, the invoice will be for the full amount that's due. So essentially the cost of the program minus the £1,500 that you paid as a deposit. If you set up a UK bank account, which most of you will do, but if you set up a UK bank account and then have the fees direct debited from that account, so coming out directly from that UK account, you can break it up as follows. 50% would be due in September, 25% would be due in December, and then 25% would be due in February. So essentially within the first 3 months of the program, you've paid for your full fees. You can pay them up front if you want, but if you're doing it as a direct debit out of a UK account, you can break it up the way I mentioned. One other thought is that if you have sponsorship, so if you're fortunate enough to have either an employer or another organization paying for your studies, you can let us know that and show us the confirmation of that, and we'll waive the deposit. So essentially the company has confirmed, some company or some organizations confirmed that they will be paying for the fees, and consequently we'll simply invoice them directly at the beginning of the program. You don't have to pay a deposit and we can do that as well.
Thank you. That sounds fantastic. Thanks a lot. Everyone who is watching the recording or live with us right now, thank you a lot. I hope you learned something today and you understood if the University of Edinburgh programs are for you or not. And whatever your decision is, please contact Unique Way. Uniqueway.com is our website where you can search and compare scholarships and programs from all across the globe for free. And all the features are free now on the website. All our webinars are free. We're making the platform accessible and available for all the students all across the globe. It is in English for now only, but we will be translating it in other languages too. But that's a good start, I believe. And thank you, Kopel. Thank you, Kartik. It's been a great presentation. I learned a lot myself too today. So we will be doing such events every week. So do please join us, and we will be happy to hear some good words in the chat section. So please, if you enjoyed this webinar, do let us know. We will be happy to get some nice words before the weekend starts. Thank you a lot. And if you want to say something else, add something, please do go ahead. Otherwise, we'll just slowly finish the event.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate being here. It's a pleasure having Nadi help us out and get us ready for this. Really appreciate your help, Nadi. And great working with the team at Unique Way. Get in touch with them, let them know what you need, what information you're looking for. They're a great resource. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's an hour later for many of you in certain regions that I saw early on. So thank you for joining us. And again, get in touch with us if you're serious about applying for the program, you really want to move forward. Please get in touch. Happy to have one-to-one consult or to answer your questions. But it's been a pleasure being here. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you for Unique Way team and Nadi for supporting us during the webinar. And I wish you all the best to every attendee, whatever the program you're looking for whatever the school. Do well, do research well. And if you have any information you require, get in touch with Unique Way. And if you need more information about our business school, go to our website, connect us from there. We are more than happy to help you. All the best and happy weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And have a great evening, night, whatever you are for me the rest of the day.
Excellent.
Right. Bye-bye.
Good night. Thank
Bye.
you. Goodbye.